It's Whitley. I'm back with a new video today. Feel free to give me a big like and subscribe. So without further ado, let's get in the video. So today I wanted to talk about my mom. So 11 months ago, almost 11 months ago, I lost my mother to suicide. So today I feel like telling you guys the story of it. I hope you guys like it. If any of you have also lost, especially a parent to suicide, I feel for you. You're always welcome to reach out to me. I'm good about replying to comments. So yeah, I'll start from the beginning. So I went to school. Went to work. So I went to work. I worked from 7 to 4 that day. Worked my full shift at work. Went home. At the time I lived at my coworker's house in the basement. And along with my boyfriend and my sister. So I got home from work and I wasn't feeling very good. I had a headache and was having cramps and just not feeling very good. And so I didn't really want to, but my sister really wanted me to drive her to her boyfriend's house. So I kept trying to put it off and did not want to, but I told her I would. So I took her to her boyfriend's house. And then I remember after I dropped her off at her boyfriend's house was on the way to my parents' house. So I was thinking of going to see my parents. I told them I didn't tell them anything. I felt like I wanted to go see my parents, so I'm like, I'm gonna go see my parents. So I was driving there, and then all of a sudden I get a weird feeling that I suddenly don't want to go see them at that moment. So I thought it was weird because usually when I want to go visit them, I go visit them. And for some reason, I wanted to, and then suddenly I didn't. But, so whatever. I flipped a bitch and went back to my house. So then I just laid there, when I got back home. Just laid on my bed, watched TV. I was obsessed with the show Friends at the time. So I was just watching Friends. And then I think it was about an hour later. Yeah, about an hour later, my phone kept going off. I kept getting a bunch of text notifications, messenger notifications it was. But I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't in a hurry to look at my phone, so I just kind of let them keep coming in, and then all of a sudden I get a call from my sister Britley, and she's asking me if I've gotten my sister Victoria's text. And I'm like, no, what text? I haven't seen any texts. And then I'm like, oh, well, I did hear some, but I haven't looked at them. And she says, Victoria's been texting me saying Mom's dead. She hung herself. And so I'm like, what the heck? And so she was asking if I can come pick her up from her boyfriend's house and take her to my parents' house. And I told her, yeah, I'll do that. And then I looked at my sister's texts finally, and sure enough, she's blowing up my phone with, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Whitley. Mom's dead. Mom hung herself." And I almost didn't believe it, like, because it's just like so big, so quick. So I'm like, no, she's like playing a prank or something. Like, why would she say this? Why would why would she be joking about this? Like, this isn't funny. Um, but still, so I'm running up the stairs. Um, just kind of no, 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 no. Hoping it wasn't real. Hoping it was a joke anyway. Um, and then right before I got out the front door, my roommate came out and asked if everything was okay. And I'm like, I don't know. My sister's saying my mom hung herself, that my mom's dead, and I don't know. And he immediately started crying, started bawling, because he lost his parents as well. It wasn't just suicide, but he lost his parents. And so it's a sore subject for him too. So then I asked him if he'd give me a ride because I wasn't doing okay. I didn't feel like driving because there's a possibility my mom's dead. And that's kind of hard to take in. So I asked if he'd give me a ride. He wasn't doing good either. Because he was a big mess. He said, first he said we need to call 911 because he asked if my dad's home or what it looks like over at my parents' house. And I said, I have no idea. I know my dad usually worked late, so I was thinking my dad was still at work. So as far as I knew at the time, my 5-year-old brother, my 9-year-old brother, and my 13-year-old sister was alone at the house with my dead mother. That was all I knew at the time. So I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't know if they've called the police yet. I didn't think my dad was home yet. So he says, first you need to call 911, get the police over there as soon as possible before we head over there. So I called 911. Kind of told them the same thing. I don't really know what's going on. My sister texted me and said that my mom is dead, that my mom hung herself. And I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if my dad's home with them. I don't know if it's just my younger siblings. I didn't know anything, so I told them I'd figure I'd call them. So they looked and they're like, oh yeah, there's people on the way there. So I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, that's not good. There's already police on the way because it's more likely it's true. So then my roommate, once again, wasn't doing very good. So then he had his best friend slash neighbor, come give us a ride to my parents' house. And so I called my dad to see what my dad knew, if my dad's already known, if my dad was there, what happened. And my dad started crying too, and he's like, well, yeah, I don't know how to tell you this, but your mother's dead. I'm like, yeah, I know, I've already been talking to them, I'm on my way. But yeah, he said he was home. I think he had the day off. I don't know for sure, but I think he may have. So then we went and picked up my sister from her boyfriend's house, and she was crying a lot. And then I just felt even worse that I couldn't cry. I was in too much of shock, and I didn't even know if it was true at the time. I didn't know what to believe. Kind of, yeah, I was in denial, in shock, definitely. Um, and then I remember I needed to tell my boyfriend, um, but I really struggled with that because I was only with my boyfriend for not even a month at the time. But I wanted to tell him, and so I kept typing out the text. But then I'm like, no, I can't tell him, this is huge. I was full on convinced he was gonna dump me as soon as I told him. I don't know why I was thinking that, but I was fully convinced he was. So I was terrified to tell him. And then when I did finally tell him, he was so great and so sympathetic. But so after we get to my parents' house, there are cops everywhere. All my extended family's over there. Everyone's in the driveway hugging, crying. I'm just like, oh my gosh. But I still couldn't cry. And so I remember I got there and everyone was hugging me and everyone was crying on my shoulder and whatnot. And I don't know, I just kind of felt numb. I just couldn't cry. I couldn't get myself to cry. Um, and then, so then after that, the I had to get my siblings stuff, gather some stuff. But we weren't allowed to go downstairs because that's where it happened. So there was like police blocking off downstairs. And so it was so weird seeing that, because when you walk in the front door, you can either, there's like a ledge right there, and then there's, on this side, there's the stairs going down, and then on the other side is when you go, just walk up into the living room. And so it was weird to walk in the door and see that there's no option to go downstairs because all the police are blocking it off. So after that, after we got all my siblings' stuff, we all went over to my uncle's house and just kind of had a family get together. We just ordered pizza. Everyone just kind of sat around, watched TV and whatnot. My heart broke for my sister Victoria. She was taking it the hardest. And I still remember she sat there just crying a ton. She just kept repeating, I saw her dead, I saw her dead. And it's just, I couldn't imagine that. That's a ton. She's 13. But yeah, so we went to my uncle's house and I was there till later that night. And then I think about 9 or 10, my boyfriend came and picked me up from my uncle's house. And then he took me and my sister up to the mountains because we really like being up in the mountains and whatnot. And my mom loved the mountains and the trees and everything. So that was the first time I started crying, was while we were up in the mountains. Then I was still in denial, but the possibility of my mom really being gone still hurt. I don't know. It was a very weird feeling. I just kept saying, I don't know. I had no idea. I still to this day don't know. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know anything. But so then later, talking to my dad and my family and whatnot, a little of what happened was, I guess, the night before, my mom got super pissed off. And my mom was always yelling and screaming, and my mom was, I've dealt with a lot of abuse from my mom. Used to be physical, and then DCFS got involved, and it was more emotional after that. But yeah, so that night she got mad and was yelling and screaming and whatnot. Like always, there was nothing new. And then she locked herself in the family room, which also was not uncommon, because when she'd get super pissed off or upset or anything, she was always locking herself in either her bedroom or the family room. So she locked herself in the family room. Obviously, nobody thought anything about it. Also, I was not at my parents' house at the time. This was the night before they found her, and I was at my house where I was currently living, so I was not here. This is solely off of what they've told me. But my mom got mad. She stormed off into the family room and locked the family room. No one could talk to her or get a hold of her or anything. And then my dad said he noticed the next day. He was surprised because the family room door was still locked with her in there. And she was huge. Like, she refused to sleep anywhere else but her bed. So that was concerning in itself. And a couple other things. That she never once left the room to go to the bathroom. She never came and locked the front door. Because I guess the front door was unlocked. And they noticed that. And my mom she would never go to bed without making sure that door was locked. She was always checking it. The front door was always locked. And they noticed the next morning that was left unlocked. And so that showed my mom never came out of that family room at all that night. And then my dad kept pounding and screaming and pounding on the door and whatnot, trying to get a hold of my mom, but there was no answer. And then from what I remember and what I've heard is my sister Victoria then had a counseling appointment. So my dad took Victoria to her counseling appointment, and then it was right after that. Finally, my dad's like, there's something really wrong. So then he kept pounding and screaming and knocking on the door and not pounding on the door and said, "Oh my God, Crystal." And then he kicked the door down. And all three siblings were behind him too, and he didn't realize. But my dad, my 5-year-old brother, my 9-year-old brother, and my 13-year-old sister are the ones that found her hanging in the family room. We used to have a punching bag, and she took the punching bag down and did it on that hook. And now I currently live back at my now dad's house. I live at my dad's house downstairs right across the hall from where she did it and where her room was. So that's really tough. I've been really struggling with it. Again, if any of you guys can relate to any suicides, period, I'm sorry. I feel for you. It's hard. I've also lost my uncle and my great aunt to suicide. I'm currently wearing this shirt. It's an Out of the Darkness walk. I don't know if you've heard of it. But on the back, it has the dates and the names of my mom, my uncle, and my great aunt, which have all committed suicide. And if any of you guys are struggling with suicide or anything, please get help. Because my mom struggled with suicide for a long, long time and refused to get help. In her mind, nobody would care. Nobody would bat an eye if she ever actually went through with an attempt. Succeeded with an attempt. But obviously all of that was completely wrong. She's left a ton of people heartbroken. Not just her family, but her close friends and everyone else. Everyone who knew her is heartbroken. Even if you think nobody cares, they care, I promise they do. You don't see it yet. But yeah, with that, I think I will end this video. I just wanted to tell you guys the story of my mom. My story of her suicide. It's a really hard thing. Yeah, if you liked this video, feel free to give it a big like, big thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe. We'd love to have you join the family. Yeah, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. I love all of you. Thanks for watching.